Hi there, I'm delighted to see you're still with us and still learning, I hope. Our next session is one which could be absolutely vital to your career development, so do listen carefully. John Somerville from the London Institute of Banking and Finance will explain what's entailed in different roles in the market which you may well aspire to, from underwriter to senior administrator and management roles, and the qualification and training you might need to get there. Don't forget to write your questions in the chat box for John to answer live after his presentation. Here he is.
Hello, a warm welcome to you all. My name is John Somerville and I'm the Head of Financial Services here at the London Institute of Banking and Finance. And today I'm here to talk to you about career change and progression within the mortgage profession. For those of you that are watching today and are looking to change careers or to advance your qualification status and become a mortgage broker or a mortgage administrator, then hopefully there'll be something here for me to help you with this afternoon. So our agenda for today will start with a little bit of background about the London Institute of Banking and Finance. We'll then move on to why you should choose a career in mortgage advice, and then the Certificate in Mortgage Advice and Practice, CIMA, our benchmark qualification within the mortgage industry for mortgage advisors. So our timeline goes back to 1879 at the London Institute of Banking and Finance. So we started back then, when there really weren't any career options or qualifications within any banking profession. And I'll take you through a little bit of background about that shortly. In 1987, we became the Chartered Institute of Bankers, before changing our name to the IFS, which some of you may remember, the Institute of Financial Services. In 2006, we developed a schools program where we provide qualifications for school children of GCSE level and above, up to A-level grade. And for those children for the last 15 years have benefited from leaving school with a background in financial services education. We also have our own university college and we can award our own degrees within that framework. We launched a brand new professional qualifications framework for both financial services and banking in 2016. And in 2019, we celebrated our 140th anniversary. The reason why we became the institute that we are today is that back in 1879, a group of bankers got together to try and forward the progression, careers, and job prospects of bankers at that time. Banking was a very mundane, very manual process back in the 1870s, and there was no way of actually improving career prospects for individuals. So a group of bank workers came together to form the institute at that time to improve the qualification levels for the whole of the industry. Also, I thought I'd share this story with you on a fellow of ours, Alan Bryant. Now, Alan has been with the institute for over 80 years. He was born in South London and joined the RAF at the beginning of the Second World War. He was shot down over Germany on one of the bombing raids and was incarcerated in Stalag Luft 3, which is the prisoner of war camp that was made famous in The Great Escape. During that time, he was allowed to study, and we were able to send him study materials whilst he was in prison. And when he was released from prison, he carried on a very successful career within banking, having passed all of his banking qualifications. From starting his career as a bank clerk, Alan retired in 1987, but continued as a lecturer until 2005. He's been with the Institute for over 80 years and is one of our longest serving members. From studying his qualifications as a prisoner of war to touring the country and giving lectures, he's been an advocate of professional qualifications throughout his career. I thought I'd also give you a little bit of background about how we work with women in finance. And it's worth noting that on the 6th of February 2018, it was the 100th anniversary of the passing of the Representation of the People's Act from 1918. This gave women the right to vote. At that time, in the same year, the Institute allowed women to take banking qualifications for the first time, which wasn't without its or being discredited by some of these some bankers at the time. But what I can say quite happily is that women outperformed the men in this category quite considerably, and first-time pass rate for women was considerably better than the men at that time. It has been a long journey to reverse and redress the gender balance, as you can see from the slide. But I think that acceleration is growing quite strongly now, and more, a higher percentage of women are coming into financial services now. So as far as the Institute is concerned, we operate in over 120 countries worldwide. We have 140 years experience. We have 55,000 young people taking our financial capability qualifications on an annual basis. And over 800 schools are participating in that. On the professional qualification side, we have over 20,000 financial services professionals studying our qualification each and every year. So for those of you that are looking to change careers, it could be quite a confusing and bewildering choice. 1 in 14 workers in the UK have roles in financial services, be that through banks, building societies, insurance, investments and mortgages. In 2019, the financial services sector contributed £132 billion to the UK economy, which is 6.9% of our total economic output. And this is countrywide. So although there's a large proportion of financial services based in London, the whole of the UK contributes to this output. Let's think about some of the roles that are available. Now, on the front line, you'll see there's 2 listed. We've got mortgage administrator. So the mortgage administrator is responsible for assisting a team of financial and mortgage advisors, focusing on mortgage and protection business. The successful candidates here always need to show professionalism and be comfortable with dealing both with clients and introducers. They're on the front line and they often assist with customer queries and updates. So relationship management is a key tool for the mortgage administrator. It's a very big job, very wide ranging. And actually, they are the linchpin that makes sure that the mortgage process works for millions of borrowers every year. The mortgage broker is the person that will provide the advice and make sure that that customer gets the right product, crunches the numbers and makes sure that they can borrow the amount and safely pay it back over the period of the term of the mortgage. Behind the scenes, we have mortgage supervisors who are responsible for making sure that the advice is correct for each mortgage broker to make sure that they are following the processes and the training and competence schemes. We also have in there mortgage underwriters, a financial expert who takes a look at your finances and assesses how much risk a lender will take on. And if they decide to give you or give a customer a loan, more specifically, underwriters evaluate credit history, assets, and the size of the loan requested by the customer. And then finally, a mortgage processor is a person who's responsible for preparing a mortgage application and other paperwork. There are also business development managers who play a pivotal role in assisting with the distribution of products from lenders to mortgage brokers and IFAs. They tend to have very established relationships with a range of brokers throughout their patches. So as you can see there, a wide-ranging number of careers that can be taken in mortgage advice. And you'll see also that at the LIBF, we offer not just qualifications for CIMA, but we also offer equity release qualifications, protection qualifications, CIMA diploma qualification, i.e. a level 4, which distinguishes a higher grade of qualification for mortgage advisors, and CIMA professional, which is a route to taking more CPD for mortgage advisors. I'm going to play a short video now, which will take you through some of the qualifications that are available at the LIBF. found that useful. I'm just going to take you now through our mortgage qualification CIMA, our industry-leading mortgage qualification, and this is the license to trade for any mortgage broker who wishes to practice in the profession of mortgage advice. It's made up of 3 modules, CIMA 1, 2 and 3, and you'll see from the first one it covers an awful lot of regulation, and this will give you a solid background into understanding why that regulation exists within the mortgage market. CIMA 2 then goes through the practical application of your mortgage knowledge and how mortgage products fit together, how the advice process works, etc. And then CIMA 3 takes you through the practical application through a series of case studies in the exam. For studying, we provide study text, both written and online, and there are an awful lot of useful hints and tips and help that's available from the website as well as within the text. So there, at the end of each topic, there are review questions. There's no study module for module 3 because that is an application of the knowledge you would have gained through CIMA 1 and 2, mainly 2 as it happens. But also there are various other support materials that are available as well, which I'll take you through in just a second. This is the recommended study hours for each of those units. You'll see that module 3, because it's an application of knowledge, shouldn't require too much study because you should already know it by the time you get to that case study section. And then finally, we've got the assessments themselves, which are basically 100 questions in module 1, 100 questions in module 2, and module 3, 6 case studies with 10 linked multiple choice questions applicable to each. The pass mark is 70% per module, so this isn't an average of the 3. You must pass by at 70% in each of the modules 1, 2, and 3. You can take your exam either in a Pearson VUE test centre. These are the centres that you would use for your driving test, or you can study and take the exam at home through remote invigilation. If you wish to do that, please go to the website and make sure you understand what that entails. But a lot of our students now are finding this is a very practical and straightforward way of taking your exam from your own home. Online learning is available, so all of our revision tools are available online, including revision guides, online forums, online tutors, specimen papers, study tips videos, etc. So please revert to the website. All this stuff is available for you to use. And the most comprehensive of which is the CIMAP revision tool, an online exam practice tool for current and past CIMAP students. The tool is designed to help assess current industry knowledge through mock exams and tests with your personalised feedback, reflecting the exam at your test centre. We find this very true to life and students really like this way of studying. We also have a set of videos which focus on the most commonly failed areas of the CIMAP 1, 2 and 3. For CIMAP 1, the price is £99, and for CIMAP 2 and 3, they're also £99, so 2 separate pricing structures. And actually, people find these particularly useful and cost-effective, actually. Far cheaper than having a retake if you fail an exam. Planning. So throughout the process, once you've registered, you'll receive your material. There'll be a study planner. Really strongly suggest you use that. It really does help with putting a timeline in place for your studies. Make sure you book your exam early, so that way then you know what you're working towards. You can always change your exam date, but we recommend that you do book your exam as early as possible. Study in bite-sized chunks. Don't try and do it all in one go, and certainly don't try and cram everything before your exam. Do revise on a consistent basis. Block time out of your diaries. Answer the revision questions as you're going along. This is particularly useful to establish your baseline learning. Revise from the textbook. The answers are in the textbook, so there is nothing outside of the textbook. Make sure that you'll know that your exam questions are actually based on that text. And use the specimen papers if you decide to access those. They are extremely useful, and the specimen paper questions are identical in the structure of the exam questions. They're not the same as the exam questions, they are different questions, but they are of the same difficulty and the same standard as the questions that you'll find in the exam. So that's it from me. I hope you found that particularly useful. You'll see that on the last slide there, you've got my contact details. Do ask any questions if you need to, but from me and from the LIBF, I hope you found this particularly useful today and look forward to hearing from you in the future. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for that, John. That was all very interesting and highly relevant for our audience, I'm sure. In fact, they've got quite a few questions for you. Just before we go to the audience questions, though, I hope you don't mind if I ask you one myself, just because it really interests me. You refer to the financial capability qualifications, which 55,000 pupils take, which is great. Obviously, understanding money and finance is really important for everyone, not just financial professionals. But on the whole subject of financial education, I believe it's been on the national curriculum for something like 6 years, but certainly not every child leaves with a qualification. I think you said 800 schools have used the qualification, which you support. But how can we make those numbers bigger? How can we get financial education out to all kids in all schools, given how important it is?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's a great question, actually. And I've been in touch recently with our financial education team, just to get, a bit more flavour and understanding of the sort of background behind the difficulties that they face. 800 schools sounds huge, but in the scheme of things, 800 schools is nothing really when you think how many schools there are in the UK, which I couldn't possibly tell you, to be honest with you, but, we're running into many thousands. And basically it needs, our team believe firmly that it needs its own time in lessons. So it needs its own lesson plan. It needs its own lessons. At the moment, although it's on the curriculum, it's only being taught as part of another qualification or another lesson. And actually it needs its own separate lesson because students just aren't really getting the full flavour of the full financial picture, or they're not knitting things together as a full course, if you like. So it's really important that they get full priority lessons that focus purely on this, with a goal at the end, i.e. a qualification, or at least an exam or a test at the end, which gives them a full flavour of the sort of things that they should be leaving school with. And if you think most school children, whether they go to university or college or go to stay A levels and the like, when they do eventually leave and go into employment, they need to make financial decisions almost immediately. And without having some form of knowledge as to which bank account to choose, where to save, what about my pension, what happens if I need to, I'm going to buy my first home and all that sort of stuff. Those decisions need to be met with some form of education. And if you don't have that in the first place, it's critical, to financial success of individuals. And, we firmly believe that it needs its own lessons to bring that to a better conclusion for school children.
Maybe the financial service industry has a role to play sending volunteers into schools. Maybe this is a campaign we need to talk about further,
Yes.
But we'll pick that up after. If we could come to our questions from the audience. To start with, we have a question from James, who says, is there a training course, certificate or industry recognised qualification specifically for mortgage administration, not CIMA level, which includes advice, just admin? Does that exist?
No, unfortunately, it does not. So, there are training courses available from some of our trusted partners that do touch on this, but they don't really necessarily have a mortgage administrator qualification in its own right. What we tend to find is most students will take CIMAP in itself rather than going separately to an administrator qualification. But what we tend to find is a lot of administrators will come through the role learning from an administration point of view and then become more of a kind of paraplanner, if you like. They'll understand the industry better and they'll come to CIMAP a bit later on. I think sometimes the mistake some people make is that they take CIMAP and then decide actually they're going to go on to mortgage advice, when actually that doesn't necessarily satisfy the skill set if they're better at the administration duties. And I can assure you, a lot of mortgage brokers out there would not survive if they didn't have absolutely top class administration behind them and having people who are equally qualified along the lines that they are.
Thanks for that. Chris says, as a mortgage processor, I found it easier to take CIMAP 2 before completing CIMAP 1, as it was more relevant to my existing role and got me into the mindset of learning and revision. Would you agree with that suggestion?
Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely. It's a great suggestion. A lot of people think, typically we name them chronologically 1, 2, and 3. So people will follow it 1, 2, and 3. There's two things for this. Number one is you don't necessarily need to take one first. So a lot of people do leave the regulation paper until the end and do 2 and 3 first. I would highly recommend that you do 3 after 2, because that's the application of your knowledge. So what you learn in 2, you then apply in 3. So I'd take 3 straight after 2, and then leave, if you want to leave 1 till the end, that's fine. 1 is the drier paper of all 3, because it's based on regulation, process, the legal frameworks, all these sorts of things. So a lot of people like to leave that one till last, because it is a little drier to learn. The other thing is, if you are a mortgage advisor wanting to get into this, and you think, actually, in the future, I'd like to be a financial advisor, maybe, you could take the first paper of the financial advisor qualification, which will save you having to do it twice, effectively. Because if you do CIMA 1 and then do the rest of CIMA, you qualify as a mortgage advisor. If you want to be a financial advisor, you have to do financial services regulation and ethics, which is broadly CIMA 1 but beefed up. Some people like to do that financial services regulation and ethics paper, which then covers both routes, depending on what your future career looks like. But unfortunately, again, we do publish this on the website, but sometimes people miss that and don't understand that they can do that sort of thing. So there's a couple of things there. Hopefully there's little tips there. But Chris, you're absolutely spot on with the comment around CIMA 1.
That's great. It might save a lot of people being put off by CIMA 1 by trying to do that first. Kerry says, do you think it helps to sit in the broker's appointments if given the opportunity while studying CIMAP, or would this not help?
Oh, no, it would. I firmly believe, personally, we're a very practical qualification company, awarding body. And so a lot of people learn through different styles. It's not the same for everybody. Some people might be put off or not want to be in a client appointment. But I personally think that if you are happy to do so and the client's happy to do so, that's very important, that they're happy for you to sit in on that appointment as well as the broker. But I firmly believe that is gives you a really good understanding of actually putting the practical knowledge to use. And that way, then you can kind of understand it better. When I was teaching trust and trust law for financial advisors, the actual mechanics of a trust are quite dull and boring, if I was being honest. But when you look at the case law, i.e., the litigation, the lawyers, and all the rest of it, and the criminal cases that we used to go through to formulate that law, everybody found that interesting. And it's because it's the practical nature of why these things exist will help with your learning. So yes, if you do get a chance, I highly recommend it.
Great. And a few more technical points. We have a question. If you've started qualifications through the CII, are these recognised by CIMAP?
Depends. So yeah, I mean, the structure of their mortgage qualification is different to ours. So I'm guessing if you're talking about the first paper, which is their regulation paper, we do recognise that, and then you can come to us and complete your studies with us if you prefer. Obviously, depending on what your experience is with the CII and how you want to do it. The way to do it is to apply through our customer services team, and they will point you in the direction of a form you'll need to fill out, which you'll put that qualification on, or part qualification that you've done. And they will then take that into consideration. Thank
you. And we also have a question. What's the next logical step after gaining CIMAP qualification when considering a mortgage advisor career progression?
Oh, excuse me. Well, it's as long as it's broad, really. That's a really good question, though. I mean, you obviously saw from my video just in the middle of that, some talented people in our teams have put this magical video together, which sort of gives you a bit of a framework. It really depends where you want to go. So equity release is proven to be extremely popular at the moment. It's expanding past the marketplace. It gives you, obviously a bigger portion of the market to talk to, those people that aren't necessarily looking for new purchases, but want to release the equity in their homes for other reasons. So that might be a qualification you may want to look into. You have to do the equity release qualification in order to practice in that area. So I would, potentially look at that if you want to stay at that kind of level. If you want to provide pensions and financial advice, investment advice, etc., then financial advice is an incredibly interesting area to get into. And then from there as well, you can go into specializing into other areas such as potentially pension transfers, but also further pension planning, inheritance tax planning, and the like at our level 6, and become chartered associate of the LIBF. So there's lots of routes to go through, really, it's interesting. Really, it's partly what your interest is, so very difficult, but happy to have a conversation if you want to contact me afterwards. But partly down to time and effort that it takes to take the qualification as well. So, really, you are looking at probably a 9-month study period to do diploma in financial advice, which is our level 4 qualification, the entry level for financial advisors. We also have a power planning qualification for financial advisors. So we do have an administrator course, funny enough, for financial advisors. There's a huge demand for that, interestingly. And then moving on to our level 6 qualification, a huge demand for that, and growing, because it's a competitive marketplace. So people want to stand out from the crowd, if you like, and get that level 6, which then puts them above the competition around them.
And if you know that you want to be a mortgage advisor and you work in a mortgage advice firm, I suppose ask an advisor to be your mentor, maybe.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, absolutely. You'll find that there's such a broad spectrum of. Sorry, I've cut you off there. I'm so sorry, but I'm totally enthusiastic about what we do, you see, so I do apologise. Mentors within firms are really valuable, and you'll probably find that some of those mentors, they've either been in mortgages for a long time, or they may have come from financial advice and moved to mortgages, or they may be thinking of moving that way again, or they do both. There's so many people that you can speak to, and interestingly, in this industry, people aren't shy of having a conversation, because that's what we do really well. We do communicate.
And in fact, we're communicating so much that we've run out of time.
No, what a shame.
We have a few more questions, but we'll make sure those get emailed to John, and he'll come back to the questioners directly. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much indeed again to you, John, for all of your input there. Thank you very much for all of the questions. As I say, there are a few we didn't have time for, but it is time for you all to take a well-deserved 30-minute break. We'll go back to your work for 30 minutes, which I'm sure a lot of you will be doing. But please do come back in plenty of time for the 3 o'clock presentation, when James Enos of Hodge will be explaining how you can improve and enhance your communication skills. Thanks a lot. See you then.